I don't like a woman's partner, I will not hang out with him. I'm not friends with trash. Hey. So I got a lot of reasons for this. I'm going to tie a bunch of things together. Look at how he just sits in my chair like a human while I do this on the floor. The only king baby I let in my life, but he gives me lots of love in return, so whatever. I'm going to go over the themes of misery loves company, enabling addiction, and I believe relationships are a form of addiction. So I will not co-sign the lie that the women in my life tell themselves about the men in their life. I don't abandon those women, but I will not hang out with those men. And how all of this is very much tied to like patriarchy, capitalism, white supremacy culture, all the things that are about a scarcity mindset and that encourage us to be jealous of people who are happy and commiserate with people who are miserable. Therefore, normalizing miserable relationships. I will not do that. I refuse to do that. So I'm going to tie all this together. Let's go. My mutual, Cecilia Regina, has talked about this a lot too. And all my mutuals, I'm sure, talk about this. That's why I'm mutuals with them, is because it is a tough love mindset versus an enabling love you to death mindset. And since I literally, I have struggled with my own addiction, but codependency in how powerless I felt and how insane I became because of one particular relationship. I was just as delusional as any addict. I was just as self-destructive and destructive to my community as an addict because of one man. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not codependent in other relationships, which basically that relationship made me realize I really need to work on myself. I need to learn how to stop doing so much and enabling really terrible men and just people who would take advantage of others, to stop enabling that. How to create boundaries for myself, how to have a high standard for myself, how to learn how to take care of myself first instead of just loving this whole martyr crap. I'm not interested in that anymore. Life's too short. And this is why I talk about don't come to me for advice unless you want hard advice. I also do not give unsolicited advice, or I try not to. Sometimes I do, and then I'm like, oh crap, sorry. But I try to not give unsolicited advice because that is also a form of codependency. And sometimes women who follow me, who are like well-intentioned but don't realize that giving me really mean unsolicited advice, how I can improve my channel, maybe go look into codependency because it's not helpful. I don't want to hear it. Feedback, yes. Unsolicited advice about my looks or my voice or how to do my job better, I don't need that. I'm a professional. I've been doing this for 20 years now almost. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. And that's how a lot of times codependency takes the role of infantilizing people, trying to change them instead of focusing on yourself. So that's why I stopped trying to change everyone around me and focus on everyone around me, especially the psycho narcissist abuser king baby, and to change him into like an upstanding citizen who had a driver's license and could pay rent and all those things. No, he's just an abuser, a hobosexual who financially abuses, a grifter, gold digger, and he didn't change at all. He just found a new victim when I finally cut him off. Actually, he found her before I cut him off. All of them do. All of them do. You got a hobosexual in your house, he's probably cheating on you and lining up his next victim. Anyway, so that is why me and my mutuals, we talk about very hard topics, but we do not normalize them. One of the things I try to do is hold space for people who are, we're all on the pickme spectrum. You can't exist under patriarchy without having to do this by force or just not knowing any better. And so we're hopefully all trying to unlearn this, right? This enabling of men, this centering of men, centering of women who center men, centering of the male gaze and the patriarchal blah, 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 right? That also requires sitting with very hard truths. But one of my favorite phrases is, the truth will set you free, but first it'll ruin your day or your week or even your year. But the truth will set you free and the delusion will keep you trapped. And so the stuff I talk about is very depressing at first, but it's depressing because it's true. And we don't want to believe it's true. We don't want to believe that men really exploit us this much. We don't want to believe it. That's a terrifying realization because beneath that is grief and anger. Rage even. All these men that we thought loved us were actually exploiting the crap out of us, right? From friends, exes, dads, whoever, all of them on some level. And if they didn't, they enabled men who did. I do believe that talking things through with my friends is productive. but I only talk about it with friends who are action-oriented rather than enabling-oriented. Ones who are going to hold me accountable and who are like going to give me some space to kind of talk about things and figure it out, but will set a boundary with me and not listen to it after a certain point because they refuse to be the banker of my toxic deposits. They will not hold space in their bank for my deposits of bleh, right? They're like, nope, this bank's full. Sorry, go deposit that somewhere else. Because they not only is it bad for them, it's bad for me, right? The more they hold space for me to complain about something that I'm not doing anything to try to find solutions for, the more they're enabling it, the more they're normalizing it, the more they're co-signing me settling for bad behavior, or if not abusive behavior. So I promise you, the friends who are willing to, who have a very high standard for you, and it is completely based on love, not like some sort of like frenemy thing where they literally hate everyone you date because they're jealous or some other crap. I mean, are authentically that person who holds a microphone to your intuition. Those people are the bravest people in your life. Those people want what's best for you, not what's best for patriarchy or for your image or for what your parents want from you or to make his life better. No. And they also are someone who, they are not subscribing to the misery loves company mindset, the scarcity mindset. I'm going to show some clips from a video I just saw that I really love that made me think about all this. And then I'm also going to link my coach. I've been working with her for several months. She was also a friend, but I hired her because she's so good at what she does. And she literally helped me kept shifting the way I think, because as much as I have been really trying to unlearn this stuff, I still think of this scarcity mindset when it comes to like my career and money. And it's ruining my life because I'm going to burn out at this point. And I had already kind of shifted my thinking around relationships and stuff, instead of being like, oh, I'll just settle for this one because this is the best I can get. That's scarcity. That's low self-worth. That's like, that's just right for being abused. I've been working on this in all these other areas of my life, but I realize I still operate in this really kind of toxic way when it comes to money. And a lot of that's rooted in all kinds of trauma, whatever. I can go over that later. But Lauren, she's amazing. I'm going to tag her. I'm going to have her on a live once I get my Patreon set up too. And I'm going to announce all that this week about exactly what's happening, because she's holding me accountable to that too. But this is kind of how I changed my thinking after I read The Artist's Way when it came to my creativity. Because what I realized, and this can be applied to relationships too, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more later in like a minute, is that I used to get angry when I would see people succeed as writers and storytellers. And I didn't like that. I don't want to not be happy for my friends or even strangers who wrote a beautiful piece. I want to appreciate this, but I would spiral into anger and jealousy. And instead I reframed that, thanks to The Artist's Way, some other book, to see that my jealousy is actually my North Star for that's actually what I want. I'm jealous because I'm not taking any action towards that. That's literally how I started writing articles. I would read, I had, a couple failed book proposals, and I was just in so much self-pity because I was in so much debt from trying to write these books. I had a literary agent. I had what I thought was enough to sell a book. I'm going to make a video later on about just how messed up this industry is now and why and what we can do about it. But I was in so much self-pity, and I get angry every time I read an article that was like, okay, but the story wasn't that interesting. And if anybody who follows me knows that my stories are like bonkers. Everybody's literally why I got into storytelling, because I was doing improv and all my teammates were like, why are you doing improv where you're making stuff up? Your real life is crazier than any improv scene we could ever come up with. You're sitting on a mountain of gold of personal experience. Why are you doing improv? And I was like, yeah, you gotta write about that. And I'd read these stories and I would be like, oh, this is crap. And then I was like, no, it's not. It's actually good. I'm jealous. I'm jealous because I'm not doing anything towards this thing. And instead I'm in self-pity and jealousy and hating this other person for something wonderful that they did and put out into the world. So I started reframing, seeing jealousy as a compass. That's what I want. Instead of hating people who had what I want, being like, oh, okay, it's clear. I actually want that. Because if I didn't want that and they said they'd done this thing, then I wouldn't be so triggered by it. Instead of judging myself for being jealous, hating myself for being such a naysayer, I was like, oh, just let that inform me. Let that guide me. Instead of hating happy couple, be my standard. It wasn't until I saw firsthand examples of like healthy couples, women being loved and cherished, I started to realize that needs to be my standard. Instead of being jealous or being in self-pity, like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I get that? Be like, oh, I need to make a lot of choices, take a lot of action, take actions. So I stopped settling for this trash, right? That requires being held accountable. That required doing a ton of work on myself. That required me practicing how to have healthy conflict and healthy conversations with people with lower stakes, like friends and people at work and community, right? I can't do that with people with lower stakes that I'm not married to or have children with, although I was never going to do that anyway. Then what makes me think I'm going to have a healthy partnership under patriarchy with literally my only predator, right? Like, what? Why would I have the strength to do that in a relationship with a man who is most likely the person who's going to harm me the most in my whole life, the man in my house? I can't even do that with friendships. I got no business dating. And so I didn't. But I appreciated my friends who had healthy relationships. And I was like, if I ever do this thing, which is, most of y'all know if you've been following me, I didn't even try dating until I was 36, which is why I've had such an amazing life. With so many queers stories, right? It wasn't until I saw healthy examples that I was like, yeah, I don't want to give this any time. Why would I do this? And I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have that. But I didn't have enough work on myself still. And I settled for a lot of crap. All the red flags, overlooked them, and then I almost died. I was like, oh, right. Very high stakes. Very high stakes. Got to work on this codependency stuff in a safer environment before I ever try dating again. So now that I'm like really good at that level of this video game, I always have a new challenge I got to work on, but I try to also be grateful for how far I've come. And so what I realized in terms of the couples stuff, it is very rare that I meet a woman that I'm friends with who is dating or married to a man who doesn't suck, absolutely suck, or somewhere on the suck spectrum, right? And so I will like hang out in a large like outer circle with other people, but in my inner circle, very few men get into that. So recently I met one of my friends, her partner, and I was like, oh, okay, I feel safe here. I can talk about what I do for a living, which is talk about freaking patriarchy, right? Like, I don't have to like make myself small to make him feel safe. Fuck his safety. And actually, Anthony realized that it's a great litmus test for us because not too long ago, we met the partner of one of my friends. She's not a super close friend, but first thing he said to Anthony when he was like, oh, Anthony was like bragging about me because he loves to brag about his wife, as he should. He was like, yeah, my wife's a YouTuber and TikToker and she's a journalist and all these things. And he's like, oh, what kind of YouTuber? And they think a YouTuber like influencer, blah, blah, blah. When he was like, well, she's a feminist and she talks about decentering men and patriarchy. And he goes, oh, patriarchy, huh? Come on, it's not that bad. And literally tried to bond with my husband over talking shit about me. And Anthony was like, no, it's bad. And he's like, come on. And he's like, no. He's like, I am not involving myself in you bashing what my wife does. The guy was like he just was like, it wasn't just like, ah. He was just like, no. He's very good at making other men who hate women feel stupid, but without being aggressive about it. It's brilliant. And finally the guy was like, okay, well, I gotta go outside. And the guy avoided him the whole rest of the night. This guy showed up at something recently at a girls' night. He showed up. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This is why I do not hang out with couples unless the man has been vetted. A, because I don't want any of these men in my life, in our life. I will not feel unsafe with my close friends. So if I don't like your husband, you're free to hang out with me and us and whatever, but I will not hang out with your husband. I won't. I won't. I will not make myself small and silence myself and not talk about this big part of my life at all because of a man. And I equate it to if I was like a climate scientist and one of my friends was dating a climate change denier, I'm not hanging out. Why would I hang out with that person who literally doesn't take me or what I care about seriously? Although I would even argue someone who is anti-feminism, it's a much bigger problem. That means you don't even see all our humanity. But anyway, And I'm not saying that I ditch women who are, really decentering men and I give a lot of grace to women who are healing. But my boundary with myself is I won't hang out with that man just because you like him. I'll hang out with you, but not him. Sorry. So this leads me to my next point about women who come online who talk about their husbands, complain about their husband, and weaponize incompetence and all this stuff, but they're normalizing it. Now, some of these women don't know, but how they react, and of course it makes sense that they're going to defend their husband in the beginning, but women who continue to make videos about this stuff get defensive, but I love him, la la la, when women are like, you should divorce him. Like, what? Like, he doesn't respect you. And they're like, no, and they get defensive and they gaslight us for trying to give them truth. Those women, I will never give them the community that they want, which is a community based on settling, enabling codependency, enabling pick-me behavior, centering men. I will not be supporting that community spirit about hating men solely based on the fact that you are accepting terrible behavior. You can hate men for as much as you want. I hate a lot of men individually. I don't know if hate, I just don't think about them, which is even better. Indifference is even better than hate. There's plenty of men I don't like, but I don't think about them because I don't let them in my world. I don't fight with them. I don't engage with them online, and I don't let them come into my circle of friends because I don't want her to feel bad. She can come, but she can't bring him. Sorry. I don't want her to think that I'm okay with him and how he makes me feel, much less how he makes her feel. And this is in my close circle. It's different if it's a bit, like larger things, whatever. But in my close circle, you come to my house, you better respect women. Oh my God, look at him. Look at you. So online, I do the same. I might be someone who gives someone the hard truth, but without that judgment. Or, there's going to be some judgment. But I'm not here to shame women for being in unhealthy relationships, because a lot of women don't even realize how much they're being exploited, how much they're even being abused. I certainly didn't. It's only been the last year that I've realized that, how abusive men are without even laying a hand on you, because they unalive you slowly through autoimmune diseases in your nervous system. That is just as dangerous as actual physical violence. It just looks different and it's easier to hide and easier to deny. I don't mean one is worse than the other. I'm just saying it is just as serious. So I will not co-sign the lies that women online tell themselves when they make videos complaining about their husbands, and then when people are like, well, blah, 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 and they're not interested in any real support. They're interested in community through accepting bad behavior, community through hating their husband, rather than either leaving their husbands or taking actions to stop enabling behavior or whatever the action needs to be. Solution focused rather than problem focused. Oh my God, you are so cute. Oh, look at you. Oh my God, I love you so much. Look at that baby. I'm gonna show some screenshots from a video that I watched that I really loved, but I'm afraid to show the video because of copyright stuff. There are a few lines in her video that are just so good. You want to laugh at your misery, fine, but don't include us on a cliffhanger unless you're actively looking for solutions from the community. Because lately we've been aiming higher. It's sad that you have to resort to humor to cope with your exhaustion. Oh, how many women are doing this online? In this particular case, husband is the source of it. Your husband is the source of your exhaustion and your misery. And the video she's referencing is a woman who went out to hang out with her girlies or whatever she called it, hanging out and having fun with the girls, and came back to a home that's messed up and was like, okay, point taken. I guess I can't be doing that again, because then I have twice as much work when I come home. So many times when women make these videos, then other women are like, yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay, and here's why. They're like, no, babe. And what they want is the community support from other women being like, yeah, my husband does the same. I'm going to explain the difference in a minute in a great article I found, but I will never say that. I'm going to be the person who's like, yeah, you deserve better than that. I'm sorry if that's hard for you to hear. So she says, weaponized incompetence works. And it works even better when women are acknowledging it publicly and making fun of it. So please don't do that. Don't get me wrong. in this video, compassion is wonderful and it works wonder. But lately I've been feeling like tough love works better. I can and will extend empathy, but I will not co-sign your delusion. My life changed when I started really seeking out tough love instead of enabling of my own really toxic thinking. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of times women who are being exploited by their husbands are friends with other women being exploited by their husband, because healthy couples actually make both the people in that couple uncomfortable. Ask anyone who's been in like a really not great relationship. Being around a happy, healthy couple, especially where the man just adores her and literally wants to be with her and spend time with her and make her life better, those couples make unhappy couples very uncomfortable. Just ask any woman who's gotten a divorce. When she finally said, I'm done with this, I'm not taking this anymore, ask her how many friends she lost, even especially female friends. It's not that she's losing friends because she's not in a couple anymore. That's what women will tell themselves. It's because a lot of those women actually want out, and she reminds them that they actually have that option. And not always. Sometimes women are in abusive relationships and that getting out would be way, way more difficult and complicated because of financial abuse and all kinds of other things. I don't want to say it's impossible though, because women do leave impossible scenarios. It just takes a lot of time and effort and support and strategy so that they don't die in that process. But tell me, if you are divorced, tell me, and your friends were kind of male-centered or in not so great marriages, how many of them stayed your friend? I'm guessing you lost a lot of them, because misery loves company. And sometimes, especially for a lot of women, the longer you're in an unhealthy relationship, the more like, I don't know if it's like learned helplessness or whatever, but the harder it seems to leave. The more you feel it's impossible to leave. Right? So when you see someone leave, despite all those obstacles, it's really unsettling. Now, I am not someone who, like, The Secret, I am not into toxic positivity or any of that crap. But once I started realizing that this deprivation mindset is absolutely a product of capitalism and all these systems that literally want us like isolated and exploited for the benefit of all the people with power, then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I really need to change my mindset in regards to everything. And it takes a long time to do that, right? But every day I work towards it, and it's really been changing my life. And a lot of times it starts with not enabling other people. It starts with not hanging out with that dude who's dating your friend who makes you so uncomfortable. If she brings him to girls' night out, leave. Or at least don't talk to him, and tell her like, hey, this was girls' night out. Please don't bring your boyfriend. I didn't bring my partner. Don't you bring your partner. This was on purpose. Because I tell you what, the friends that I'm with, that where the men are like healthier and not insecure, they are like not the least bit disturbed by anything I say. And if you follow me and have been for a while, you know that some of the stuff I say it's very hard to hear. And a man who can sit there and listen and not be like, oh, and argue back, but be like, just take it in, so that I don't feel like I have to censor myself and pretend that I don't care about all this stuff. I'm not the person who's like, patriarchy this, patriarchy that at every party, but I'm also don't bite my tongue. No, I'm like thoughtful. I'm not gonna hijack the conversation, every single thing into patriarchy. Decentering. Of course, I like to laugh and talk about a lot of things, but I'm also not going to just stay silent when I really feel like I should add something, a lens on this conversation, because that little king baby right there, he might get his feelings hurt. Fuck that king baby. He doesn't belong here. He's not welcome here. So now I'm gonna go over into this just an article. I don't know anything about this publication or this person who wrote this, but there's a few things that I want to mention because it has some really good insights on a few things about this misery loves company. And by misery for women under patriarchy who date men, that means like being miserable in a relationship where you're being exploited at best, abused even, in life-threatening situations, somewhere on that spectrum. And it's that deprivation mindset because it's better this than nothing. I mean, there are no good men, and there are not very many doing the work. I will not deny that. But you will never convince me that being alone as a woman isn't better than settling on any level for trash. These men on the trash spectrum. So I'm just going to go over this and then I'm going to wrap it up. This is what it says: why misery loves company and how to avoid becoming bitter. Because this is what happens when you are codependent and far on the pick-me spectrum. You get used a lot, not just by men, but by other women who center men. They make you suffer the consequences of their centering men. You got to cut off what you give them too. I'm not saying cut them off, but cut off what you give them that doesn't align with your priorities and your values, which is not to be exploited by men in your life or men in her life. So by her, basically. But you're still centering men by proxy. I do not want to be bitter. Like I've seen some women in my family and in my life they're so miserable because so many people exploit them. And on some level, they get off on that martyrdom. Because I used to get off on it a little bit because it made me feel better. It made me feel like I was better than everyone. I'm not interested in that anymore. I don't want to look down on people. I don't want to look up at people. I'd much rather be looking eyeball to eyeball. It's a lot easier said than done. So she was very, and I've mentioned this before. There was this tweet that went viral a while ago where a woman just was like, yeah, me and my husband wake up every morning. We bring our coffee out to the garden and sit and talk for hours every morning. Never gets old. We never run out of things to talk about. Love him so much. This woman got dragged. This right here is why a lot of women are afraid to show when they are in healthy relationships because of what happened to her. This is why I'm afraid to talk about it sometimes, but I know I need to because I need women to stop thinking that being abused and exploited and weaponized incompetence and being a married single mom is normal. It's not normal. It may have been normalized and it may actually be like what most women are experience who are in marriages, but it's not normal. It's not okay. And the more women normalize it, the more we co-sign abuse. It was full of all kinds of things like, don't you guys go to work? Probably exploits her employees if she's able to have that much time. That they want to check back in a few years and see how miserable they really are. Like this couple talking about really enjoying her life with her partner really triggered a lot of people. I get this. I immediately blocked that person from being able to ever comment on my page again because I don't need this. You can watch, but you can't comment if you say stuff like this. Like, oh yeah? You think you're special, man? No, I don't. I'm fully aware at any point I could get screwed. Any woman can. That's why I have a backup plan. Make it very well known. I'm not afraid to be alone and walk away if I need to. Every woman should have that. Ever let a man think that you will never walk away from him? He's already set up to get away with so much stuff. Why would you also let him think that he can't be fired from this job? Because I promise you, he doesn't think like that. If you cheat on him, you do anything or do nothing, are the best wife ever, he could still leave you. No regrets. It also was like, oh, you've been married long enough. Other ones were like, oh, you're bragging. It's so rude. So this article is written about how this person thinks about this garden coffee lady all the time. This poor woman who was just dragged for just sharing a happy moment. And this is a misery loves company. This is also, I've talked about this before. I'm not an alcoholic. I had problems with alcoholic, but I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have that physical allergy or that mental obsession. I don't drink. I haven't drank in like 20 years, partly because I'm narcoleptic and I'm way more fun sober. Alcohol makes me go, like, that's not fun. Partly because I don't need it. I learned how to have fun without it. Partly because my health is better. Partly because I want to be very conscious of everything. And like there's plenty, and I save a ton of money. That's probably the main thing. That's how I could afford to live off of poverty wages for so long. It's because I didn't drink or go out to eat. That alone like made my life affordable. I was doing a lot of crazy stuff. But that's that thing. Anytime someone offers me a drink and I'm like, no thanks. The ones who are really upset by it, I'm like, must be an alcoholic. Because people who are so triggered by me not doing this thing that they're doing, that they seem to have a very big insecurity around how they're doing it, hate people like me who are like, yeah, I don't need that. They're like, why? What? Come on. They try to talk me into it. It's the same mindset. Again, relationships are addictions. Things I really had to work on. I'm chronically codependent. Relationships are addictions. That's why I started thinking that all marriages are terrible without having any proof. Is me thinking that staying away from men is really the solution. It is a big part of it, especially for a lot of us to heal. But feeling threatened by happy couples, Like truly, genuinely happy couples, that's a me problem. So I had to work on that. It is important to share experiences when we're going through things, support, not when it's problem focused instead of solution focused. That's the difference. So it's one thing to be comforted by solidarity and misfortune, quite another to wish misery on someone else who's happy. So for people who wish misery on someone who's happy, this seems to suggest that for these people, misery is actually exacerbated by others' good fortune. It can be alleviated not by commiseration, but simply by the knowledge that misery is widespread. That right there. That's why I do believe that most men are terrible dads. You will never convince me that there are no good dads, ever. I know women who had dads. When I hear them talk about them, I'm like, I didn't even realize that was possible. You know what I mean? And that also is that like women who are miserable mothers because their partners will not do anything to parent. I will not normalize that. I will not accept that as that men are just that way. You will never take my hope away from me. That's why like I'm going to give tough love. I'm going to talk about very hard truths, not sugarcoat things. It does a disservice to people. Be like, yeah. At the same time, you will never take my hope away from me. That's why I'm doing this right now. If I was truly hopeless, why would I waste my time on this? Why? What's the point? We're all just gonna die and everything sucks. No, I have never felt that way. I never will. Even in my darkest moments, my most hopeless moments, I clung to some morsel of hope that things can be different. But it might just take a lot of work on my part to figure out how to get there. Does that mean that misery doesn't just love company, but needs everyone to be miserable? I'm going to say that again. Misery doesn't just love company, it needs everyone to be miserable. I understand when women write on my page, I bet your husband's abusive, or, what makes you think you're different? I will never, ever not hold space in my mind for the possibility that something could happen. If nothing else, that he could die. Me banking on some like amazing life forever together is delusional. And at the same time, because things can be true at the same time, every single woman thinks that, not every single, but most women, especially if they're with the nice guy and not like the bad boy, because the bad boys at least are honest about how much they suck. The nice guys, the women who marry the nice guys, especially if they miss any red flags, any at all, and they get better and better at hiding these red flags. I'm telling you, what woman who's been totally screwed by her husband was like, yeah, I knew that would happen? None of them. That's why I say, if you're gonna date, always have a backup plan. Be prepared to have a life without this person, because even if he doesn't screw you over, a bus could run over him. If you're gonna have children, make sure that you can be a single mom. Do not depend on this man not having an affair. Do not depend on this man finding you attractive for the rest of your life, for him to not cheat. You know what I mean? Like, it's like risk management, risk assessment. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's kind of I don't know if being an outdoor guide taught me that or whatever. But I never want to believe that everyone is miserable. Why would I even want to live? Who wants to be here if that's the reality? So that's why I really try, as depressing as my work can be, to include some level of hope in every story, or some sort of actions we can take, or some level of awareness that is somehow empowering rather than just devastating and depressing. I don't want to just talk about the problem and be like, well, we're forked. Oh, well, have a good day, right? Now, I at least want to be like, education is power. Right now, I'm working on educating myself about my finances. I feel really helpless when it comes to paying taxes and figuring that out, especially being in another country versus I still have to file in the US. I don't know how to do all this, and I feel very disempowered. But knowledge is power. The truth is power. Because from that foundation, I can actually do something. So some people who follow me, all I'm doing is I'm giving them truths for that foundation and then take actions. Other people get other things from me. I will never, I hope to God, or whatever it is, I don't God or whatever. I hope that I never believe this. that everyone is miserable at the end of the day. We all have hard moments. I don't ever want to believe this because I don't want to live if this is true. I love life. Even the hard parts, I love life. I will never let anyone take that from me. I didn't even let that little hobo who almost me, I never let him take that from me, although that's the closest I've ever been to wanting to die. One man almost took from me the thing I value most is my excitement for life and curiosity and love of life. He almost took that from me. That's why you have to be careful with men. They can rob you of the thing most precious to you, which is why I didn't write that whole year I was with him. He stole my creativity. Well, he didn't take it. He made me not want to write. And no one has ever made me want that. So how does scarcity, this mindset, affect our lives? Under capitalism, things that are rare rise in value, while things that are abundant are worth less. Get rid of this mindset. And all this is tied to, and capitalism in the US is so extreme. I mean, it's all over, but it's so extreme and individualistic and competitive versus cooperative, because that's all tied into, white supremacy culture, hyper-capitalism, patriarchy, all of it, right? This is the colonizer mindset, right? We're raised to believe that we need to compete for jobs, awards, and mates. Compete with other women for men. I'm not doing that. I quit doing that a while ago. You want them, you can have them. I'm not fighting for him because I'd rather have no one or someone better than that. That's why Love is Blind drives me crazy. And they're fighting over a man. I'm like, you are going to get so screwed. And this limiting belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We hoard resources, afraid that others will steal them or waste them. Yeah, I think I've told you, I'm like a minimalist, but I'm also have this kind of hoarder mindset sometimes, and also ADHD and doom boxes and all that crap, right? I would have, my best friend Liz helped me get rid of, I had 5 green t-shirts that I wore for 7 years, and 3 had holes. She was like, you need to throw out the 3 that have holes. And I'm like, but what if I need them? She was like, they're trash though. They have holes. I'm like, well, what if I lose one of the other 2? She's like, you'll buy another one. This stuff is really deep in me. It's taken a lot of work to get out of this mindset. I would literally rather hang on to trash that I might need later than just get rid of it because it's clogging my life. And I literally never wore those shirts with holes in them, but just in case, So I'm unpacking this stuff in real time. This example was from 20 years ago, I think, or no, 15 years ago, but still catch myself in this. We treat our time as scarce, ever optimizing it to extract as much productivity and value of our days, overwhelming and exhausting ourselves. I literally feel guilty when I'm not working, especially because I love what I do. And this is why I almost burn out. This is honestly why I'm doing Patreon, because I can't live like this. I spend all my time researching and creating and storytelling and editing, and I love this so much. I need to make sure I don't burn out, and I will if I won't ever let myself have a day off. I'm also going to ruin my relationships, including my marriage, if I literally put my job above everything. So I've been working hard on this, and my coach Lauren has really helped me with this, which again, I'm going to tag her. She's amazing. Even if you just follow her on social media, that alone will help change this mindset that's so toxic for all of us. We resent those who do better than us, and we pity those who are less successful, as we're all playing some win-lose game of life. Not only does scarcity turn us into jealous, grasping versions of ourselves, but it has a range of other negative impacts on our lives. This is also how I tolerated having a few pretty toxic friends when I first moved to France, because I didn't vet well. And I was like, well, someone's better than nothing. Oh, did I learn the lesson? I had to start applying my rules to friendships that I was applying to my rules of dating. Is that no, for close friends, no, just anything is better than nothing. Your friends really impact your mindset and normalize things. And if they're really male-centered, it's going to seem normal to put up with stuff, right? Those are the people I was friends with when I was dating Breadcrumb Dude. I didn't have the support of women who were like, what are you doing, Melanie? Stop it. There's a man who was like, Melanie, stop. This dude doesn't like you. Because women were giving me terrible advice. And Liz didn't know enough about it. Really slapped some sense into me. So I'm telling you, don't date unless you have a strong community of people who want what's best for you, rather than just settling. Because a lot of times they're just settling. They don't know that actually there's something better. So of course they're going to accept this terrible man in your life. They don't think anything better exists. It also talks about how this approaches everything, including the environment, and how our relationship to, nature and just exploiting resources, and how like the settler colonizer mindset is what not only was, a crime against humanity, also against nature. When we review our lives through the lens of scarcity, everything becomes a commodity. Loss is terrifying. Success feels like it must be hard fought, hustled for, taken at whatever cost. And there is always a cost, because in a scarce system, nothing is free. And this is why so many people burn out from doing the very thing they love, because it's been so normalized. Oh, if I want to do what I love for a living, I guess I just don't have a life. And I feel stuck, and I feel like there's no other way. So I guess I literally will spend all day, every day making videos in hopes that something changes. And then one day the algorithm screws me, and now I've lost my income. And now what? Do I have to quit what I do? You know what I mean? Like, scarcity mindset is void of solutions. It's more about just whatever. It's about martyrdom. And if y'all know me and what I've been talking about, martyrdom is what patriarchy is all about. We're all supposed to martyr ourselves for everyone, not just men, for children, grandchildren. And once women retire, what do? They volunteer for all these things. I'm not saying you shouldn't be a part of community and volunteer. I'm saying that a lot of women don't even know what makes them happy. They don't even know what joy that doesn't involve giving everything is. They've never been poured into the way they pour into everyone else. That's what I don't want to do that. I tap out. Can I tap out of this? That's what I want people to do. In little ways. It starts in just little ways. Saying no. My default is no. My default is not yes anymore, because that's what screwed me. That's what made me overcommit, martyr myself, settle for less. My default is let me think about it. Or internally, no. Right? And maybe I'll look at my calendar, look about my energy, my time, and be like, you know what, actually I do want to do that. But unless it's like a hell yes, it's a no for me now. Unless I have no choice, right? But even then, I kind of have a choice about how I approach it. I can talk about this forever. I'm going to wrap this up. To see through this system that assigns value based on rarity. That's what I want to get away from. Trust that good fortune is not limited. Just because my friend sold a book doesn't mean I can't either. Jealousy of my friend selling a book shows me that's actually what I want to be doing. And by the way, I'm writing a book proposal soon, and I'm going to ask for y'all's input on that, because I have been avoiding that for a long time because of some bad stuff that happened around that. Made me really feel demoralized and hopeless, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. But now, thanks to y'all, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna approach it differently. So I'll do a video on that later. What I don't want to be is a little bitter woman who's like, everyone gets to write a book but me. No, nope. I want to be happy for people who have success, and I am, but only if I let my jealousy guide me towards what I need to do and work toward, rather than instead letting it paralyze me in self-pity. Stop resenting those who are doing better than you and start celebrating them. Choose to believe that your success is just around the corner rather than being taken by someone else. And this also applies to love. My scarcity mindset made me very jealous. Like my friend Liz, she had other friends, and I was so jealous of her. I had other friends, but I saw her spending time with other people as taking from me, rather than believing that she can love a lot of people at the same time. Really, this mindset it destroys everything. Every area of my life. I'm still working to get this mindset out of it, because it's self-sabotage. This one right here, I'm so old. I need people to listen to this one. This effectively hides another scarcity statement. I have so little time left. Who will want me because I'm so old? I'm unforkable. I can't do this or that. No! Instead, I still have so much time to do what I love. This right here, I thought I was old in my 30s. Best decade of my life so far. I'm 46. My 40s is my favorite decade. And I believe my 50s I'm going to enjoy even more. Even though it comes with, perimenopause and all that crap, I still would not I would never exchange this for my 20s. Ever. Stop being afraid of aging. And by the way, you will never hit a wall. Men are the wall, and they're the ones who hit a wall, not us. So that is why I don't co-sign the lies we tell ourselves that we deserve less, that we should settle, that abuse is okay, that exploitation is okay. It's easier. It's easier to accept those things, but it's more miserable. So in the end, it's actually not easier. Let me know if you like me talking about this stuff. That felt like really deep, like maybe a little too deep. And I know I was kind of all over the place. Please like, comment, share, help boost this into the algorithm that my subs can see it, especially because, you know, we delete men and hateful stuff, so we don't get as much engagement. By we, I mean me and Anthony and some moderators that are helping us out. Thank you for your time. Et voilà.